Hi, everyone. This is Lawrence Gowan of Styx, and this is We Go to 11.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
Hey, man, thanks so much for your time. You guys are playing Bend, Oregon this coming week. Tell me a little bit about, doing these shows, because you guys are doing this with Foreigner.
Yeah. So we have,
then you have John Waite.
That's correct. So we have, it's a double headliner tour, Styx, Foreigner, and our special guest opener is John Waite, of course. So what people are getting, Ruben, on every night is like the show starts at 7, goes till 11. So it's 4 hours of classic rock where people know every single song, and they've had their lives be affected by the music that they're about to hear over a 4-hour stretch. And so it's a pretty intense experience, and one that we can see on the thousands and thousands of people that have seen the tour already. Just the expressions of joy on their faces is just spectacular.
Right. One of the things that I'm aware, I've taught Styx quite a bit over the years. I think I think it goes back to about probably 05 is kind of when I reconnected Styx, right? And one of the things about Styx that I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention, because you go for the songs, obviously. But one of the things that caught my ear was the fact that you guys are a lot heavier live. I mean, just the rhythm section, the riffs, even the keyboards. I mean, everything's heavier.
Yeah, that's a great perception, and no one's ever really brought that up to the degree that you just did. Yeah, we intentionally lean into the songs in a more visceral way, I suppose, than the recorded versions, because the recorded versions they're so classic, they're so well recorded, they're so well crafted that they would sound amazing on radio. I'm sure was one of their prime objectives. And secondly, the arrangements come across in a very palpable way, even at a low volume. Those songs, the melodies of the songs, the lyrics are so well done. They're so effective that people can embrace them at any level, and in any environment. The arena the arenas where we perform, that is a specific. Sorry about that. I cannot shut these things off. That is a specific venue. That's a specific moment where the heavier, if you want to use that term, the heavier parts of those songs have to be brought out to really give them the concussive strike that they need to have. I've noticed the same, for example, when I go and see Genesis, or particularly Queen. Queen were a band that really, they had such eloquence and could be very flighty in some of their records. They would run the gamut of emotions, but in a live concert, oh my! I mean, even the most subtle of songs would come across as having much more, what's the word? Gravitas, or a heavier delivery. Okay, right. And yeah, particularly songs like, say, for example, Mr. Roboto, which has a very specific type of production that worked perfectly in the early 1980s. But when we play it live, it's first of all, they never performed it live. Funny enough, that's a funny thing with JY and Tommy and Chuck told me that they always did that song. It was the opening was done to a track, so that their acting bits that were in there. So when we really learned it live, bringing up the guitar element of it, along with the all the keyboard sequencing that is underneath it, and very machine-like and effective, that works in a really powerful way in a live show. And several other songs fall into that category as well. Fooling Yourself, for example.
Oh, yes.
That's a much heavier. I have to keep falling back on that word, but it's the only way you can really describe how it just has a more all-encompassing wash over you, and you can feel, you're feeling this. And
Yeah. Well, one that I think of is Too Much Time on My Hands. I mean, that was
Oh,
like,
perfect,
I mean, think
perfect,
about that one. I mean, it's a pop
perfect,
song, but it's so heavy when you listen to it
perfect.
live when the bass thumping and then the rhythm section kicks in, and it's just wow, off to the
Yeah,
races there.
Ruben, perfect example. That's a perfect example. It's got much more of a grind to it,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just got a more visceral kind of
Right.
delivery, you know. And again, you try to remain as true to the original as possible, the original recording, because as I say, they're classic recordings. They're so well done. But in the live arena, you have to kind of just lean into them at just a little bit more grit.
How long did it take for you? I mean, I think you came on board, I think 03. Was that right? The
No,
Cyclorama
no,
record?
I actually joined in the last century. I joined in 1999.
99. Okay.
So
So
I'm
90, how long did
in,
it take for you to kind of get to that point where, like you said, you leaned into the tunes, especially the classic ones?
well, one great thing that happened when I joined the band, because I had a long solo career prior to this and made
Hmm.
albums and yeah, 4 platinum records and 3 gold albums and a platinum single, etc. So I had a well-established career. And one of the things that they decided, JY, Tommy, Chuck, was that they said, look, don't don't feel that you need to do any kind of an impression or in any way mimic what the original uh, recordings were. Basically, deliver the. When I showed up, I sang a few of their songs for them that first day. The Grand Illusion, Lady, and Come Sail Away, probably those three. And they said, we like the way that you're singing them. We like the way that you're approaching them, where even the playing, where you're engaging with the song in a very you know direct and kind of honest way is basically the best way to put it. I think that's how they put it. Where I'm emotionally trying to connect to what the lyrics are and deliver them in a way where it sounds like it's authentic. And authentic meaning that it's heartfelt. Because I think the lyrics to those 3 songs, for example, I can relate to those within my own life really very directly and try to deliver the songs in that manner that I'm feeling it like that. And that I think is part of what helped us to work so well. I mean, we started off with them saying, I wonder if we could do 100 shows a year for 5 years. We might get 5 more years out of this. Well, 5 years landed in 2003 and 99, 2001, 2, 3. Yeah. And by then, we had established such a manner of delivering their shows and we made our first album together, Cyclorama, that we thought this could probably extend for another 5 years. And
Right.
here we are over a quarter century later, having the biggest tour of our entire.
Right.
You
I
know,
mean, you guys are still packing them in, and that's amazing. I mean, I think you guys are more than a legacy act, however, because I mean, you did all the what Big Bang Theory,
yeah,
Mission, and
yeah.
then Crash of the Crown. Oh, all critically acclaimed records.
Crash of the yes, yeah, and all and now kind of um, you know uh, calculated or how would you ranked as being within the top 10 of the best Styx albums of all time, which
Right.
is a phenomenal feat because those classic
Sure.
records, particularly
Right.
the big, are so spectacular. Um, so that's a great thing, and I think the jewel in the crown, I suppose we could say, is that the Crash of the Crown from 2021, that it got to number 1 on the Billboard album chart was just, to me, for a band to have been around for half a century and achieve that just speaks to the entire arc of the group's existence and how strong it has been musically right from the beginning.
Right. Right. Yeah, real quick, the Cyclorama. I mean, you had some guests on that one, and you're
Yeah,
coming
we
on
did.
board doing this record. You got, I think, Billy Bob Thornton on there,
Yeah,
right? You got
yeah,
Brian Wilson,
yeah.
and John Waite, who is now, in a supporting role with
On
you
the
guys,
on the
and
tour,
played at
yeah,
one point with Ricky Phillips,
right.
in a couple of days. So
And
tell me
don't
a little bit
forget
about that one.
Don't forget on Cyclorama also Tenacious D.
That's right. They did that hidden track.
So pretty Kyle Gass and Jack Black on a record, and having that cast. Thanks for bringing that up. Was kind of a great way to begin the new millennium era of where Styx had landed. Making that record was a lot of fun. It was the only, and I think a good number of the songs still stand up really, really well from Cyclorama. And I think that we were in that period though where people were making CDs that were incredibly long. You know, you no longer had to curtail yourself to about 40 minutes of music as vinyl dictated, the confines of vinyl. And so we might have stretched. Yeah, I wouldn't. You never look back on these things and really you try not to be too self-critical because it was of that era, that brief time. That's why we made that record that way. I think that we learned some lessons there when we went to make The Mission in 2017 and Crash of the Crown, which was the rock album format is that's an artistic, it's a work of art, okay? And it's the confines of that 40-minute thing where you've got 20 minutes on one side, 20 minutes on the other, whether it's actually on a vinyl record or if it's on a cassette or even if it's just something you download, there's something about those confines that actually dictate a way of presenting it that is just far more in tandem with the original records that came out back in the classic rock era. So that is one thing that we went way outside those lines on Cyclorama because that's what people did back then. You know, it's funny to talk about something from 2003 as being such a long time ago because it feels recent, but it was a record I think that stood us very well for that period.
Right. No, I agree. And that's why I was like, did you come on board in 03? You know, because checking out some of your work with Styx.
Ruben, you're correct in that 03 was the first time we recorded together.
Right.
Yeah. We'd been on tour for 5 years before we actually took that bold leap into cementing it into a recording format.
What's your take on the Regeneration Volume 1 and 2, and then eventually it was released as a double package? But what's your thought on that now? Because I mean, you guys recut some of the classic stuff, which kind of fits with what you guys were doing live. I mean, again, bring up that whole bombastic heaviness, you know, in a re-recorded updated version of the songs.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to be a little bit technical here. We did the Regeneration records in something like 2008 or 9, something like that. And we were recording at that point with using all the new technology. So like I said, I'm going to go technical a little bit on it. So which meant that we were recording entirely in the digital realm. So much as I think the performances were strong on those records and I like them, I prefer the newest one that we did called Now Playing, which is kind of another version of that, where we took another run at them, but this time using the analog technology that we had reverted to on making The Mission, really, in 2017. And because of that, they just sound better. We took some of the bed tracks, I think, from Regeneration, maybe not even that. I think we re-recorded most things right from the ground up, and I'm just happier with how that came about, how that ended up, because we used those clunky old analog ways of doing things that worked so well and lend themselves so perfectly to achieving that sound. That classic rock sound is not an easy thing to duplicate if you're entirely in a digital realm. Not that we don't love the digital world, because we do, especially live and being a keyboard. That's just way better. Yeah.
You're going to have me track that down, because I thought it was the same songs, you know, put in a different package.
On Now Playing?
Yeah.
No. There might be, like I said, I'd have to check. There might be some bed track material, or might be there might be some harmony vocals that came across, or but I think for the most part things were entirely redone. I mean, I remember doing Come Sail Away again.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to track down a copy now so I can
Check it
compare.
out. You'll know. Oh, you'll notice the difference in
Right.
sound.
Nice. Yeah. Cool. Hey, so you guys, I mean, you were just talking about all the touring you guys did or have done over the years since you've come on board. I mean, I think the wear and tear, I mean, it sounds like Ricky kind of more or less retired, right? From touring for the, or at least took a sabbatical. I don't, what is it exactly? And then you have a
No,
new bass player. So if you could talk a little bit about the new guy,
sure, sure.
you know
So
him well too.
sure, I do know him very well. My understanding is that basically Ricky didn't want to retire. He just wanted to pursue some other things that are not possible to do while being out with Styx as much as we are. But my brother Terry, who is the new bass player in Styx, he played with me from 1985 to 1990 in the Gowan band. You know, so we played all the venues that Styx play in Canada, all the arenas and amphitheaters. We played those. And then we started again in 2010. Once I'd been in Styx for 11 years, I decided, okay, I think I can squeak in a few of my solo shows again, because there was a mounting demand to begin to see that again. And so there was a venue in Niagara Falls where Styx did 3 nights, and then it got for a few years there where Styx would go and play 3 nights, and 6 months later I'd play 3 nights there as a solo artist, and then Styx would be back 6 months later and do 3 nights. And that began kind of the march toward. First of all, I asked Todd Zuckerman from Styx, our drummer, since 1995, to join me on my solo tour. So he and Terry began to play together and bond as a rhythm section. So by the time we hit this year, they've played over 100 shows together, you know, and they just were a seamless pairing. And Terry knows all the Styx catalog, etc. And so when the discussion came up of who's going to step in, it was a logical thing that was brought up before even I brought it up, is that this guy seems like the right guy. And I said, basically, he is the right guy. I know that he can play the stuff. I know it'll all work out. You guys have had brothers in the band before. You know what the dangers are there as far as how brothers can clash. But we'll try to keep that to a minimum, just to save everyone's sanity. And so far, it's been a tremendous addition.
So it's pretty seamless, and it sounds like
it really was. It was like an overnight transition that basically the rhythm section is different. I'll have to say that it really is far more like the original recordings, quite honestly, where he and Chuck really got together and microscoped those parts, and so it's a little closer to the original recordings. But Terry is he's a very heavy bass player. Let me put it that way. And he and Todd, it's quite a thing to play on top of that beautiful bed track.
you yourself. I mean, over the years, I know I follow a lot of bands where a band member has stepped in and stepped role. And then, have you ever met like Dennis DeYoung at all? And what was that experience like if you have?
We only met, we did 2 shows together. This is where I opened for them in 1997. And it was due to the promoter that we had in Quebec there that we both worked with many times in the past. And just after I finished the first show, yeah, I met all the guys in Styx. They were all kind of side stage when I came off stage, and I got a chance to shake hands with everyone and say, thanks, that was a ton of fun. And but that was it. That's our only connection.
Right. Now,
and that's our only connection. That's our only connection in man to man. However, I feel very, very much connected to his musical contributions to the band. I mean, obvious in very obvious ways. I don't need to, and the songs that I get to perform that he had either written or was part of the writing team on are songs that I've embraced, and I now I feel like I've tried to uphold the legacy of them and tried to, as we just discussed, tried to do them as as honestly and as I can. And they're part of my life, even though I obviously had nothing to do with the creation of them.
Right. I know you know Kim Mitchell well, and
Very well.
you know I'm
Yeah.
familiar with a lot of his music just because I
Great.
used to get Much Music on that
Yeah.
big satellite dish back in the 80s,
Right.
and I saw a bunch of his music videos and got familiar with his work and his stuff with Max Webster. You have a
Yeah.
good Kim Mitchell story?
Yeah. I mean, Kim used to come and see a couple of times. He would come and see the band I had in the late '70s because we played the clubs together uh, in Canada, particularly in Toronto, where I'd get a chance to go and see him and Max Webster, and he would come 2 or 3 occasions actually to see Rheingold, the band I had back then. And when I made my first album, he was my first choice of guitarist that I wanted to play on that album. So my first album from 1982 featured Kim Mitchell on guitar. And we've had, you know, a great association since then. We actually were on a festival last summer together out in Nova Scotia. And years later, one of the curious things in music is that he wound up being the drive time disc jockey for Q107, which is the big rock station in Toronto. And that was kind of the act two of his career. And I loved going on his show, you know, because he knew some of the inside things that only we would know and were able to gab about. But he's always been a great performer. And yes, both he and I would be on Much Music probably 7 or 8 times every day from 1985 on. And so we, we kind of saw each other kind of, rise through that medium.
Nice. Yeah, he seems like a real nice guy too. I mean, I've seen footage and interviews and stuff like that, and he just seems like a really laid back dude.
Great musician, top to bottom.
Right. So here's the last thing I want to get from you, because I'm sure you have. This is going to be for We Go to 11, which, as you're aware, has a little bit of a Spinal Tap-esque type title to it. So I'm sure, Lawrence, throughout your time, you've been in Styx since '99, you know, that you've had some kind of stage mishap with that keyboard pedestal. I've seen you spin around on that thing, and I'm like, how does this guy do it? It's almost like gymnastics. So is there a story, Spinal Tap-esque story related to you spinning around on that pedestal?
The worst, I can give you the worst mishap, which happened prior to joining Styx, happened back in 1990. That's the worst mishap. Or I can give you one with Styx, which is pretty good.
I think we could squeeze in both if you want to start with the first one and then do a Styx one.
So if for people that haven't seen it before, I'll use this hard drive as an idea that imagine this is the keyboard stand and it spins like so. And here's the keys over here, right? And then the logo of the band is here. Okay. So it spins like this. So I'll do the 1991. So I came up with this notion and had great assistance in building it with the lighting company back in 1990 when I was doing a video for a song called Lost Brotherhood. It was the title track of an album I had that year, Lost Brotherhood. And Alex Lifeson of Rush is the guitarist on that entire album. I've worked with some pretty great guitarists in my career. Alex was kind enough to also do the video with us for that. And in the storyboard for that video, I'd written out this thing that was similar to Animal Farm, if people are familiar with that book. And it's a song about losing yourself to a more like a gang type mentality, Lost Brotherhood. And in the video, I had, okay, so Alex, when he plays that solo, we're going to have him step out of the barn. It all takes place in a barn. And the barn will be kind of smoking coming through the slats of the wood, etc. And I suddenly realized when I looked at the whole thing, I thought, we have people turning into animals. And I looked at it and said, my part in this is the most boring part. I'm just stuck behind the piano in this barn. So the idea of the spinning keyboard that's how it came into effect. So I could turn around, look and observe this whole scene. Well, during the making of that video, it was suggested to me both by the crew and even the band, and Alex himself said, you can take that thing on stage. And I thought, oh, it's actually just a prop for a video. But I'm kind of enjoying it. Yeah, I think I will. So I did. And our great sound engineer, a guy named Bob Schindel, great friend, also did sound for Kim Mitchell, by the way. He said, wow, you've done some crazy stuff in the past. He says, one day you're gonna kill yourself on that thing. And he hasn't been right yet, but I came really close. On the third show, there's a brake that I can put on it, so I can stop it from spinning, so I can play certain pieces and stand on top of it. And in show number 3, I forgot to put the brake on. I stood on top to do the jump off it like this. And if you're in the front row right now, I just want you to picture this. As I stood on top, like so, and I'm about to take the leap, like so, like this. Okay, so boom, 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 boom. So I run up to bang, 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 boom. It went like this. Instead of bang, 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 boom, it went bang. I'm on top now. I didn't put the brake on. And as I push off this foot, the whole thing turns like so. So when I jump, I've already calculated my jump to go this far, not this far. And I come down and my tailbone hits the end of the keyboard, the end of the stand, which is stainless steel, by the way. And that sends like a lightning bolt up through my back. The entire thing tips over. The keyboard comes out of the stand, and the whole thing goes head over heels straight into the front row, where the audience have to jump back and let the thing crash on the floor. Keys, like electronics, keys, the stand itself, the whole thing is smashed to smithereens. All I can say is, first of all, thank God it was the encore, because it was last night. The audience just loved it. I could barely stand up for the bow. And when I came off stage, I had a hockey puck size bruise on the back of my back that I have never forgotten.
Oh, no.
That's my worst one.
Yeah.
With Styx, I guess the worst was one day we were playing it. It was over 100-degree heat, and I'm trying to remember where it was exactly. It was an outdoor show. And we all decided we'd wear our shorts on stage because it was just that hot. And we were on in the middle. It was a festival where we were on where the sun was still up, okay, blazing down. So maybe the year 2000. And I did the jump off the thing again, except this time, when I went up to jump on it, I took the front of my leg on the riser, on the front of the stand, and basically cheese grated my entire shin on the front of the thing, and came down with blood squirting everywhere.
Oh no! Oh my God!
Because didn't even have anything to soak it up in, and that was the first of a few. We called it the blood sock. We keep the blood sock, and that was the first of a few. I know Ricky Phillips had a blood sock as well, and so that was. That was the Styx mishap with the stand. Oops.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lawrence. Have a killer show in bed.